Millennial Lithium, lithium production from Argentina for the demand of tomorrow. Farhad, let's talk about lithium. Lithium in Argentina, that's your company about. So what are the projects you are working in?
Hi, Johan. Thank you for having me here. Well, we have a project in Argentina. It's called Pastos Grandes. It's a lithium brine project. We've been developing it for the last few months, and we think we can actually build a sustainable, low-cost production center in the next few years.
But it's not only Pastos Grandes, you have 3 more projects,
That is
right?
correct. That is correct. We have a package of projects. Our flagship project is Pastos Grandes, but we have 3 other projects, and 2 of them out of those 3 are in Salta province. The other one, which is called Cauchari East, is in Jujuy province. So 2 of the projects in Salta province, Positos West and Cruz, have been JV'd out, or we struck joint venture agreements with 2 other Canadian companies, whereas they actually will develop these projects going forward. But the Cauchari East, we actually have full control of it now. We think it has interesting potential because it's to the southeast of Orocobre's project and to the east of Lithium Americas project. So in the next few months, we're planning to think about maybe further exploration on Cauchari East, and then we'll look at optionality. They are the options depending on what we find in the ground.
So let's talk about Pastos Grandes, as this I would call it your flagship project. Yeah. So what's going on there? It's an advanced stage project. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that.
Sure. So you can look. I mean, maybe I'll start with the overview of infrastructure. So it is in Salta province. And the project is about 230 kilometers from Salta City, which is the provincial capital. And it's accessible year-round via a combination of highways and gravel roads. So highways are well-maintained, in great shape, and even gravel roads are well-maintained, wide roads, so you can drive at good speed.
What's about power?
The power and natural gas pipelines, they're all within about 50-kilometer radius. So everything is available. Once the time comes, we can tap into those. Yeah. That is absolutely important. The other thing is, of course, the project itself. So it's about 9,000 hectares of land position. So it's a good size. And we've been drilling there since late last year. We've drilled almost 10 holes now, 10 wells, and we've had great results. Basically, we're drilling down to about 600 meters now, and it's huge brine horizons. We're talking about 200 to about 380 meters in terms of brine thickness, and these are, of course, lithium-enriched brines. But they're still open at depth. In other words, we haven't reached the basin of this yet, which is great. Then the plan is to continue drilling and then finish drilling by the end of October and issue a 43-101 report by then. But in addition to drilling, we've also been working on a couple of other programs. One is pumping tests. We did a 60-hour pumping test there with great results as well, measuring basically the flow rate, drawdown, a recharge rate, as well as the variability of lithium grade before and after the test. And we are also doing field evaporation trials, which is basically a replication of the full solar evaporation process on a smaller scale.
And your focus, of course, on a low-cost brine production. So what do we have to understand on that low-cost brine production?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the cost curve of different lithium producers right now, you would see that the brine producers, primarily those 3 major brine producers out of South America, out of Chile and Argentina, the SQM, FMC, and Orocobre, and Albemarle as well, they tend to be on the lower end of the cost curve. So we're talking about between $2,500 per ton to about $4,000 per ton, depending on the.
And what is the selling price for that product?
Selling is actually right now on a contract basis. We're talking about $12,000 to $13,000. On a spot price basis, we're talking about all the way up to $20,000 to $24,000 per ton. So even if you take just a contract basis, it's quite a very healthy selling price right now. And our project is obviously a brine project, so we think that we can achieve below $4,000 per ton operating rate. Obviously, it's a bit early to be speaking of cost estimates because we still have to do preliminary economic
But that's your target, I would call it.
But that's exactly our target. And we're not going to introduce, Johan, any new technology here. We are going to use what SQM has been using with Orocobre FMC. The most likely the model utilized by SQM for the last 20 years or so. And that's very important because those are real numbers. These are not based on new technologies that you have to actually prove not only at the pilot plant scale, but also after you start production. These are the numbers that we can actually base our projections on.
Super, perfect. Let's talk about let's say your underlying we have a real robust lithium demand. Maybe you give us some words on that, please.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, as you know, lithium picture right now. And the lithium demand is driven really by two major factors. One is, of course, the growth and proliferation and, of course, demand for electric vehicles. And we all know what's been going on in the last few months. You know, obviously Tesla has been on the forefront of this, and they've put the whole thing on the map, so to speak, by promoting, you know, the importance of EVs. But now major car manufacturers from all over the world are joining the bandwagon. So, you know, of course, the European car makers, large German car makers, as well as Asian car makers are all coming in with basically huge announcements talking about the transitioning their fleets, new fleets to electric vehals. Yeah. So that's one side of the story. The other one is, of course, you know, what we call power storage facilities, or, you know, energy stationary power storage facilities that also use lithium-ion batteries. And that's another big story out there, although it's not in the limelight of mainstream media because it's not as sexy as cars, but it is going to be huge.
It's a huge demand,
absolutely. Right? It's going to be a very large driver for the demand. So, you know, I think you've already shown our viewers the chart, and we're talking about, and that is a very conservative demand forecast for about 530,000 tons of lithium by 2025. There are other forecasts out there that call for even larger demand. But even if you take 530,000 tons, and bearing in mind that today we consume about 200 to 220,000 tons, that's a huge growth in lithium demand going forward.
Absolutely. So it looks like you are positioned in the right market, in the right country also. Give us an idea of what is your strategic plan now, 2017 and maybe also 2018. What do you want to achieve? Yeah,
I'll maybe start with our ultimate objective, and then I'll back up and tell you, you know, what we want to achieve this year and going forward. So our ultimate objective is to again start a low-cost production out of this area, specifically in Pastos Grandes, and achieve lower operating costs as well, but also keep capital expenditures to the minimum, and then scale it up as the demand warrants it. So we have a very realistic plan. Instead of starting with grandiose, you know, production plans, we want to start really on a smaller scale and then scale it up as necessary. Now, in terms of the you know, short-term and medium plans, this year we have you know, two major milestones to hit. One is, as I mentioned earlier, to issue our maiden resource report for 3101 compliant.
That's by Christmas, so when is that?
No, we were thinking about October, November time.
Oh,
so because, you know, we're really fast tracking our drilling program right now. And then if the results are positive and the resource is large enough, then we will immediately transition into the preliminary economic assessment. And in order to have data ready for PEA, we're already working on some other programs that I mentioned earlier, including the pumping tests and, of course, field evaporation trials. And the PEA should be completed either by the end of this year, 2017, or early first quarter of 2018. And from there on, of course, if the PEA is positive, then we'll look into starting bankable feasibility study.
Okay, well, I would call it that's a big program.
Yeah.
Well, Farhad, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All the best for that, and yeah, please keep us posted.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Farhad Abasov, the CEO of Millennial Lithium. Yeah, you heard it. Companies working in Argentina. They want to bring the Pastos Grandes project into production, and they're on a fast-tracking way to do so. And yeah, we will keep you updated on that. And by the way, also the company has just raised $11.5 million, and yeah, have now over $13.5 million in the bank. So they are well financed to start to execute on the plans Farhad just explained. And yeah, we keep you updated on that. I'm your host, Jochen Steiger from Commodity TV in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from Geneva.